It is January 15th, 2021. We're here on the side of the house, right outside the kitchen for the property at 1611 Corsica Street in San Diego, California, 92111. So on this side of the house, again, we have our kitchen, and we do have a new 2-inch ABS clean out that was installed. So we'll go ahead and inspect the piping to see if it's all been changed out with plastic and if it has the proper slope. So we're going to pause for 1 second. We're going to put some water down the drain because the place is vacant. We want to make sure that there's no standing pockets of water, that everything has the proper slope. Okay, so we'll now enter this clean out here, going down this vertical pipe. Another 90 here and a couple turns. We're now in the horizontal line. You can see that little bit of water on the bottom of the pipe there that we just ran. So obviously everything's supposed to have downhill slope, so we should not enter any pockets or areas where the water is standing or pooling and not draining out. We're also looking for any construction debris. Sometimes homes, when they get flipped, will have objects and debris that gets in there from when they open up the walls and don't protect the pipes, so we're checking for that as well. We're also seeing if it was all changed out to plastic or if anything is still old original cast iron, which in this case so far doesn't look to be. So this is going to run clear across over towards the bathrooms where it will then connect into. So you can see right here we have a turn on the line. Looks like almost a full 90. And then we go across, and now we're into the part for the main sewer off where the bathrooms are at. We're at about 34 feet here. So everything looks good on the kitchen line. It's all new plastic ABS. Got that turn right there and that other turn right there. So that's clean and good. So there's no issues with the kitchen line. We're now going to move over to the laundry drain line. Okay, so we're now here in the garage. We do have the laundry recess box right here. They did not knock out the plug for some reason right there in the middle where the drain would be. So that's the standpipe. Should be glued to that. Can't imagine it's not, but for some reason it wasn't opened up. So that's going to need to be dremeled out and or cut out so that the discharge hose from the washing machine can be put into the system. That's where it's supposed to go. That's supposed to come down the wall, have a trap, and then go over to the drain. We do have a clean out right here, as you can see, away from there. So we hooked up a hose and ran some water directly from there into there since we couldn't run it through the opening that's supposed to be there. So this clean out, we're going to try to look up here with our camera because of course there should be that T. Can't imagine there's not, but we're going to try just to look to see. And so there you go. So it goes up for the vent, and that branch to the right or bottom of the screen would be catching a trap arm from there. So everything looks like it's plumbed the right way. They just need to open up that lid on there for the machine when it gets delivered. So we're now going to go down this line, the path of the train line. Looks like this was probably just all completely replaced, we're guessing, but we'll see. So again, we ran water down this pipe already to make sure that it doesn't have any areas of standing water that don't drain out properly. A little minuscule amount there, but really nothing. Here's a turn on the line. And then here you can see a bunch of cobwebs. We're dumping into the main sewer right there, which is out all in the front yard. We can see from the clean outs, and that's what we're going to move to next. So there's no issues with the laundry drain line underground. We're now going to pause and move to the main sewer. Okay, so we're now here at the front of the house, and right here we have two clean outs that were installed. So you can see that the pipes extend above the grass line, so obviously for cutting the grass it's not real great, but also these are Fernco gym caps. These are just rubber, soft rubber caps. These are not permitted to be the clean out lids. You have to use threaded PVC or ABS. In this case it's black ABS pipes, you'd buy ABS. It has to be a threaded plastic cap on the cover. So it's a minute point, but just to point it out. So the pipe really needs to be glued on with the female adapters and a threaded cap, and probably lowered a bit so the lawnmower doesn't clip both these or the other plastic ones. So here, this one, which is farther away from the house, should sweep back into the house. So we'll look at that plumbing first. It goes back in and under the slab for the two bathrooms that are straight ahead from here. So it's not a very long distance. So again, we already flushed all the toilets and ran water through all the sinks and tubs. So again, just making sure that it doesn't have areas or pockets that are holding water. That's some glue debris right there on the hub. so not a problem. Here's all the T-junctions where everything picks up. The 2 bathrooms, all the toilets, and all the sinks and tubs. You can see the Y branches right here. And then this is literally going up. So now you can see we're actually headed up, and that's going up to the vent pipe. So that's the very beginning of the sewer right here. So the line is all in perfect condition and is all new plastic, and there's no construction debris or any other issues with the pipe under the house to this clean out. So we're going to pause and pull out and move to the next clean out. Okay, so we just came out from there looking under the house. So again, the 2 clean outs, the one that's closer to the house here sweeps away from the house. So this is the one we'll now go down, and we'll look across here. Go. And we'll see if they've replaced the entire system, or if there's a little bit of standing water right here. As long as it doesn't get worse, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. Okay, so they don't have great slopes. You can see where camera's mostly underwater right here. So when we buy our pipes, they're actually bowed literally just from driving in the sun and stuff. So you're supposed to check the pipes and kind of lay them on a flat ground and mark them, because they'll have some natural curvature to them. So they've got this laid in a little off right here. Now you can see up to the left right there, that's our laundry connection right there, where the laundry dumps into, it looks like, on the left side of the screen right there. So it's a little bit farther away, so you can see all this standing water. The camera's completely underwater, so not great. I don't know if it's going to cause stoppages. Again, it's not supposed to be this way, though. Everything's supposed to have downhill slope of 1/4 inch for every foot. So for every 4 feet you travel, the pipe is supposed to be 1 full inch deeper. So that's not occurring right here where we've got all this standing water. So right when we get to this turn, it comes out of that. So we're at about 17.5 feet. We're going to back up here to the smaller part of this water where it's hanging up here. So actually this is our laundry dump in right here on the left. So here's our laundry tie-in. So at 9 feet we have that T. Just a little bit of water here, but again it's not too much, but it is already starting. So at that 10-foot mark, so we've got about a 7-foot run that's holding water, and it gets a little bit deeper as you go out, farther out, as you can see right here. So whether or not it's going to trap feces, food debris, and toilet paper and other things that get flushed down the line, they're going to then eventually dam and build up and cause a stoppage, I can't say. It's not a real severe one, but it's not to code exactly, obviously, not an ideal spot, especially since it was all just dug up and replaced. Now, they did put a little T-junction right there on the upper left of the screen. We can see a circular opening. So I don't know if there's another clean out or if they had done that for test purposes. I'm not really sure, but we have that. So we'll mark this where it's at on the front lawn, but we're going to continue down the line. So we have this turn on the line right here, about a 45-degree turn. And you can see this is not holding water here like it was. And then we come up to here, and they did stop the transition from plastic, so they only went this far. You can see now about 6-7 feet past that turn, we're now coming up to original cast iron. So they've got a little Fernco rubber boot right there with a short piece of pipe. So that's why you're seeing the wall thickness of the pipe, actually, the inside wall thickness, because they had to get a little cockeyed angle. So not a big deal. I wouldn't call this out. They just had to achieve a slight different angle, so that's why we're seeing that right there. The two pieces aren't pushed up into each other completely tight. And then you can see the same thing with the cast iron. We're actually seeing the wall thickness, the pipe. It's not perfectly aligned right to left with there. So they have a little skewed angle, and they didn't try to use some other fittings farther back. They tried to correct it with some soft rubber boots to make those turns. So I don't think it's going to hold anything up. So we're going to go ahead and push it here. You can see a little bit of standing water right there at the very bottom where it transitions from plastic to the original cast iron. We'll go into that. Now you can see here, compared to the ABS, the cast iron has a lot of scale and buildup and deposits that have formed, which is typical and normal for this age of a home, on the bottom of the pipe. So you can see that the bottom actually looks flat. It's not full around the entire circumference of the pipe. The top and sides have that roundness to them, but the bottom is flatted out, and that's all that buildup and scale. So the pipe is kind of condensed down as far as its thickness, you can see right here, and then we've got a little mound of debris that's a little bit higher up right at this hub. We're coming up to a hub where two pieces of cast iron come together. So you can see there's a little bit of standing water, and then we go around that right there, and then we go down. So we're now headed down at a slight angle here. Again, same thing, some normal scale and buildup and deposits on the bottom of the pipe there. Nothing overly severe. None of the sections right now, I would say, need to be hydrojetted or descaled with a chain knocker system. Those are the two methods we try to remove it when it gets really bad. But so far, everything we've passed by, I wouldn't say needs any of that at this point in time. But it is a rougher texture, as you can see, and reduced inside diameter, so that will slow things down from traveling down the system. So now we've come up to what's called the property line cleanout. So the horizontal pipe right here, which is typically usually about 3 feet or so in front of the city sidewalk, will need to make a transition because the pipe off the street is a lot deeper. And so this horizontal pipe needs to go get deeper, and they always do that at this property line cleanout turn. So that's actually a vertical T right there, which is usually not brought to surface on older homes. It's going to make the turn going down right here. We'll see if we can make this completely with this camera. If we have to grab a different one. There we go. So we're now going vertically down the pipe, and then right here we're going to be making a transition here. So there's another essentially 60-degree bend or a 45-degree bend. We're going to go back to horizontal. And so you can see right there what we're hitting is the hub of the clay pipe. So this cast iron is now transitioning into clay pipe. So we went from ABS to that essentially 20 some odd feet of cast iron, and now we're in clay pipe, and this basically will be running from the sidewalk out to the street. So we've got a little hub right there, the way the pipe is aligned, just like how we saw the other two pipes were from the repairs they did or installation work. The alignment's a little off, and that's what's also here with the clay. And as you can see, what that's doing is preventing our camera actually from getting by this point. They don't rotate or move, it's just pushed. So we're going to have a hard time getting by this point right here. So what we're going to have to do is leave this camera in here and try to see if we put a second camera in the line, if it will piggyback over the top of this one and get over that little hump so we can look at the rest of the sewer line, because all this clay pipe out into the street is still the homeowner's responsibility in its entirety. So we're going to pause the video. Okay, so we have our second camera in the line, and we have some water that's about to come by the system. So you can see we made this turn. Here's our other camera spring. You can see we're kind of close on that lip. We're going to see if the running water that's about to come in front of the camera, there we go, will help us push out, because this distance and a couple 90s in a row get it very difficult to push the camera out. So we don't know if we're going to be able to travel down this line or not. Looks like it is stuck, which is typical. Okay, so as you can see, we're just getting barely past that hub, but we can't ride past it and through it. So we have one other camera that might maneuver through there, so we're going to pause and try that one. Okay, so we couldn't get the third camera by, so now we have actually the third camera taped to the second camera we tried, piggyback distance apart to help hopefully give us some flexibility but good pushability to get again through this clay. So showing that point, this is as far as we've normally gotten, so we're going to go ahead and turn on the water here. So we're going to pause the video for 1 second. Okay, so you can see we've got the water now cascading by. We'll see if this allows us to get through this down part of the system here. It's just not passing through here. This is part of the complication with hard turns far out. Just can't get the cameras through these areas. Okay, there we go. We finally got through there, so We're going to leave the water running. We don't know how far we're going to be able to get completely out because we are only able to tape so many feet ahead of this, but I can see on the screen already we're passing root intrusion, so it's a good thing we got through here because you can see we're completely jammed up with roots. So we're going to go ahead and pause the video for a second, shut the water off. Okay, so the camera that we're using that was very small and flexible is not a self-leveling camera, so the image is going to be flip-flopped at different times, and it's a smaller camera, so the lighting is not as bright. So just to give you perspective why the view is kind of distorted like this, where basically compared to the first two cameras, but it's the only way with this special camera to get out this kind of distance through a lot of curves. So anyways, you can see right here, I cannot get farther past this point, even with the water that was running. But as we pull back here slightly, you're going to see tons of roots right there. And so they're all globbed up. So the top left of the screen is the bottom of the pipe. You can see the water still kind of cascading through there. You can see the massive roots that are all intruding right there in that clay hub. So the clay pipe is real susceptible to root intrusions, and so that's why it's important to look at it, but that's why it gets it. It's not that the pipe is broken or cracked, it's that the two pieces of clay pipe, which is the longest is only 4 feet long, you have a lot of connection points, it's just a greased up rubber boot, and so it's very easy for moisture to get by, and then the roots get in feeding off of that moisture. So you can see right there the pipe is blocked at least almost 50%. We're going to back up on the system here. You're going to see a lot of coupling, so we're going to see more roots. You can see the roots on the bottom already growing right there. And there they're getting in by that hub connection. There they're not blocking, maybe just barely 25% or so. Now again, we do have more hubs farther forward. We can't get through all of them all the way out to the middle of the street or exactly wherever the city and the manhole is for an exact location. This is as far as we could get out. But we'll back up. You can see another root trail right there and another big intrusion right here at this hub. Really long roots there. At the hub, only blocking maybe 20%, but a huge glob of them for a couple feet long there. So not too much more clay that we'll be able to look. Some small, very small roots you can see getting in from that hub. So they're growing in from every hub, which is going to be, again, minimum every 4 feet. This one doesn't have any large ones yet, but there are intruding in the system. Coming back across here, and there we go. There's our transition back to the cast iron. There's our very first camera we went through. So we got out to 4 hub connections. There's going to be approximately 2 to 3 more of those. So as you can see just with the camera here, it's the same problem with actually drain snaking the roots. So that clay pipe is a 4-inch pipe. The cast iron pipe that we're in is 3-inch, and as we noted as we pull back through here, it's also actually not even full 3-inch in diameter anymore because of all that buildup in scale. So what that prohibits is you putting a large cable and a large cutting bit on the end to be able to clean the system, because we have a 3-inch access point going into a slightly constricted 3-inch metal pipe with a bunch of turns on it. So you can't put a large cutting bit on there. So typically what's going to need to be done to really maintain this line, because you're not going to dig this up in the sidewalk and the street, is this property line clean out right here, which is that T we mentioned. This is going to need to be brought to surface because this is a direct access point that eliminates all these turns and constricted pipe, and you can go from here to one, clean the pipe out, rip out all the roots, and then it can be maintained with a foaming chemical treatment that even the homeowner can do. You don't even have to hire a plumber to do that. So the roots are going to constantly grow in the line. So once they're ripped out, though, this foaming chemical can go in the line approximately every 9 to 10 months, so about 3 times every 2 years, and it foams up in the pipe. You leave it in overnight, and that can kill the roots even a few feet away from the pipe underground and keep them from growing back in, so you don't have to have any more of it snaked, hydrojetted, or chain knocked to remove all those roots. So we're going to go ahead and pause and pull all the cameras out here and then go ahead and mark the location of the property line clean out, which is this T right here that needs to be brought to surface so that this line can be cleaned up, rip out all those roots right now that are blocking a huge portion of the pipe, and then maintained. Okay, so we've moved our first camera back up through here, and so this is the property line clean out, which we showed when we first went by. You can see that this is where the horizontal pipe again makes that vertical downturn, and then goes down for a few feet, and then makes the next 90, and then transitions to the clay. So this T right here from the original build that was put in for test purposes. This is just buried, and it's about 2 feet deep. It's about 3.5 feet or so in front of the city sidewalk. So we've marked this area right here with a green flag in the ground denoting PLCO on the flag, which means property line clean out, and we marked the depth of right about 24 inches. So it's only about 2 feet deep. That needs to be dug up, and on the top of this cast iron is going to be an old brass cap. You can't unscrew it, but you'll cut the pipe and then bring that up a couple feet to surface and have another clean out access point. Then from there, the roots can then all be ripped out with either a hydrojetter or a chain knocker system to remove them in their entirety, and then a foaming chemical treatment be done that very first day right then and there if nobody needs to use water for at least 6 hours, or if not, then a few weeks after, and then again about every 9 to 10 months a chemical will need to be done to maintain the line. If you don't want to maintain the line, then the only other option would be that when this property line clean out is dug, you wouldn't just cut the top off, you'd actually replace this entire T right here. But before the new plastic T goes in, we could spray coat or reline the pipe. So the rest of the vertical cast iron, the 90, and then all the clay after it's cleaned up, the roots are removed, we could reline it. But obviously that's a very expensive process, but that's how you could solve the issue, so you don't ever have to maintain it or do chemicals. So those are the options you basically have. So we're now going to go ahead and pull back on the line here to pull back to where the sag is on the system holding water and the new ABS that was installed. So we're going to pause the video. Okay, so we pulled back to, there's the turn on the line, which was actually down in a T junction. See, there's that T in the upper left. So right here, where it's all holding all this water and not draining out properly, this is the end of the sag in the system, and this is in the front yard. The pipe is about 2 feet deep here as well. The reason the pipe by the property line cleanout's also only 2 feet deep because there's a big grade change from the retaining wall down as you get closer to the sidewalk. So the pipe here is also 2 feet deep. It's about 13 feet from this cleanout access point that we entered right here to go into this, and we've got it marked with the flag denoting sag, and in parentheses the end of it, of course, at 2 feet deep. So now pull back a few feet. So again, you can see there's just a little bit in here and the rest of this line. It's not perfect. This probably wouldn't be much of an issue. If it was an all straight pipe, a little less likely to ever cause any issues. It's just that everything slows down when it hits turns. And so the deepest part of the sag being right at this also where then it has to make a turn is not the ideal situation. I can't say if it's ever going to cause any stoppages or not, but it might. Unlikely, but it could. So we'll just back up here. Again, just a small amount of water, not huge, but it's there. And there's our laundry T-junction right there. So you can see the water that kind of pulled back with our camera and moving back forward again. So we're going to push past that laundry T. So there's just a little bit hanging out there already, basically. So if you were to try to correct it all, you'd really want to pull out this whole section past the turn a little bit, and then basically almost all the way. You can see just a minute standing water there, but you need to achieve the proper slope. So you'd pretty much come back to this T right here where the laundry's in. So we're going to go ahead and mark this, since there is standing water right here is the beginning of the sag. So we're going to pause for 1 second. Okay, so we have another flag in the ground with the word sag, so it's the beginning of it. And actually, when we took our depth reading with our locator, it actually was 25 inches. So again, this is about 6 feet or so back closer to the house. So that should have been 1.5 inches deeper on the system. Now again, there are grade changes, just slight little undulations, and the reading can be slightly off, but we're showing that it's actually equal or basically the same and not a lot less. So again, that's definitely part of the reason. So what we're going to do is we're going to push back forward again through this turn and see how much depth change there is as we go down a few more feet across here, not so the cast iron, but right about here to see how much deeper it is. So we're going to pause one more time. Okay, so at this spot, we're actually still getting a 24-inch depth reading below the top of the grass there. So there's just not a real change. The pipe is darn near pretty much flat, mostly just straight horizontal, not with some good downslope. So if you were to pull it out, you hope that you can get a little bit more to alleviate that piece. but we can't guarantee that 100% because when they replaced everything in the house, they had a certain starting point and the depth that they were at, and if you're off by even an inch or so, that makes all the difference in the world, of course, once you come up to the original cast iron pipe here that you can't change. So that might have occurred, we don't know, we didn't do the work, but anyway, we're just showing the situation with the house. So we don't think it's going to be a big problem or a problem at all with stoppages, but you can see that's what you've got in the system right there that's not done the exact right way. So the roots is the bigger issue, but everything else is good under the house as far as the kitchen, laundry, and all the bathrooms. It's all just outside the house here with these small issues with this small sag and the bigger issue with the roots from the sidewalk out to the street. So everything is marked on the property with flags out on the ground, so that concludes the recording.